The Russian Navy is holding live-fire exercises in the eastern Mediterranean between September 8th and 25th, in areas where Turkey is operating its Oruc Reis seismic research vessel, prompting Turkey to issue a Navtex alert, a standard procedure to warn naval ships of its presence. The Russian exercises come at the tail end of Turkey's own naval movements in the increasingly volatile eastern Mediterranean, where the major powers are rapidly heading towards a face-off. Turkey's oil and gas exploration of the region, which it maintains it has the right to do, directly counters the Eastern Mediterranean Gas Forum, or EMGF, whose members include France, Israel, Egypt, Greece, and Cyprus. The United States has applied for observer status to the EMGF, and the UAE has symbolically sent 4 fighter planes to Greece as a show of solidarity with the organization. Further, China has been expanding its presence in the region, most recently taking 100% ownership of the Greek port of Piraeus as part of a larger strategy of Mediterranean acquisitions in support of its Belt Road initiative. Within this crowded strategic theater, Turkey is carving out a zone of direct military and economic control, much to the chagrin of France, which is responding in protection of its access to potential gas and oil finds, using the pretext of its historical colonial presence in the Levant, underscored by Macron's visit to Beirut immediately after the Beirut explosion. France's actions are not just directly aimed at stopping Turkey's exploration, but rather stopping the increasing expansion of Turkey's military and political involvement in Libya, across the Mediterranean, and beyond. Macron has cast his opposition to Turkey in ideological terms, referring to Turkey's policies as Islamist expansionist and referring to Erdogan as an Islamist radical. More interesting than France's rhetoric is the response of Germany. After direct communication between Merkel and Erdogan this week, Germany has stated that it is working for a de-escalation of tensions, a process fraught with challenges as each time there appears to be a step forward under the pretext of cooperation between the NATO members, allegations of violations of existing treaty protocols are exchanged between Turkey and France, reversing any progress. The scenario changes by the hours. The larger strategic scenario being played out here is the accommodation of Turkey's direct strategic and economic ambitions by the EU, by Russia, and by the US, and by the regional defense architecture more generally. As for the United States, the Trump administration does appear to have conceded a greater role for Turkey in the Eastern Mediterranean and in Syria, despite objections from US lawmakers and the strategic community, ostensibly under the pretext that Turkey will help stabilize Syria, reverse the Rojava entity, and limit the expansion of French influence in the Eastern Mediterranean. Through its strategic cooperation with both Russia and the US, Turkey will fulfill the role of a strategic conduit for the US's larger policy of containment engagement towards Russia. This is similar to the role of Pakistan towards China, through which the US was able to establish direct strategic engagement with China through the 1970s and 1980s. As for Germany, it also stands to benefit from a larger Turkish role in the Eastern Mediterranean. Currently, bilateral trade between Germany and Turkey stands at between $18 and $20 billion pre-COVID. Both countries are partnered in the German-Turkish Energy Forum. More importantly, Germany receives around 70% of its natural gas from Russia via Nord Stream. As Nord Stream 2 comes online, that percentage will increase, as will the overall percentage of energy that Germany derives from natural gas, reducing its dependence on coal and nuclear power and increasing its dependence on Russian gas. Thus, Germany is economically motivated to de-escalate tensions between Turkey and France. Turkey and Russia are riding a confluence of strategic and economic interests in the Eastern Mediterranean right now, primarily derived from their joint opposition to the EMGF and France's attempts to consolidate a larger role for itself in the Eastern Mediterranean, countering Turkey's role. To accommodate this joint Russian and Turkish trajectory, Germany is acting as a broker to reduce tensions. There is an added dimension to this developing crisis, which is that the situation in the Eastern Mediterranean presents a direct and serious challenge to the workability of the EU. France has committed itself to a position of direct opposition to Turkey and has sought to rally Israel, Greece, and Cyprus to its position. Notable in this is the close diplomacy between France and Greece. By committing to this trajectory, France is pursuing a course directly countering Germany's energy interests. Germany's failure to support France in this endeavor, and in fact to see its own interests in Russian-Turkish cooperation in the Eastern Mediterranean, represents perhaps the biggest challenge to the EU since its inception, greater than the challenge presented by Brexit, which is still a lit ember. I'm your host, Dr. Omar Khan. Thank you for joining me on Insight.